Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
Welcome to the You, Me, and the Scene podcast, brought to you by Revival Recordings.
Hello, and welcome back to the You, Me, and the Scene podcast, brought to you by Revival Recordings. This is episode 6, and we have some special guests on later in the episode that will be chatting with Thrillhouse and Hayley, but we wanted to start off with some news, updates, what's going on in the Revival realm, and just the scene in general. So, last week, was it last Friday that the album dropped?
No, it was the Friday before.
Because then, yeah. So, Fall Out Boy's So Much for Stardust dropped, and I think we all enjoyed it. I know I did.
Yes. I mean, I did.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. Did you get a chance to listen, Hayley?
I did. I listened to it in the car yesterday with Andrew because I wanted to listen to it with someone that, you know, knows the Fall Out Boy catalog and things like that. So I wanted his opinion as well as my own opinion to kind of go off of. I liked it. I thought it was fine. He did not. He did not.
He didn't like it?
He was just saying that it didn't, I mean, like, it was more of a pop rock feel. It wasn't really kind of like, I think people have said that it kind of harkens back to some older Fall Out Boy, and he didn't feel that way, because he's like, where's the Pete Wentz screams if it's old Fall Out Boy or whatever. And
he wanted like old Fall Out Boy.
Old Fall Out Boy. Like, he said he liked, I don't remember the name of the album. No.
The one before that?
Folate. What is it called?
Folie
Do. He likes that and back. So that's his realm of it. But I thought it was fine. I mean, the first couple of songs, I was like, this kind of all sounds the same. But then the more I listened to it, the more I liked it.
See,
coming from someone that really doesn't know a lot of Fall Out Boy.
I know. I mean, basically, as a Fall Out Boy fan, I was there for the first few. Folie à Deux, I didn't, you know, the French one. I didn't really listen to beyond the singles until like adulthood, and then totally tuned out everything they did in between that and what they're doing now.
Right.
So I'm kind of in the same boat as Andrew. However, this album does remind me a lot of Infinity on High. I don't think it tops Infinity on High, but that's the old part of Fall Out Boy that I heard. I have had, which one was it? I've had Hold Me Like a Grudge on repeat. That and the song that I mentioned later for my Song of the Week have been my two like most played tracks over the past couple weeks. So Hold Me Like a Grudge is like my top one on the whole album. Definitely not a no skips for me. I mentioned this to a friend at work the other day. I realized that I could absolutely love a new record. It's just I don't get as completely consumed by new music like I used to when I was a teenager. Like when I was a teenager and I listened to Infinity on High for the first time, it was like devastating, like world changing for me.
That album
and I don't
was awesome.
Exactly.
That was a good album.
Exactly. And it's not that other albums, that one that's just an example, it could be any other, you know, scene album, but nothing has really affected me the way that music used to affect me when I was a teenager, you know. But that might just be because I'm like old and grumpy, you know. So.
I think it's interesting. That's an interesting idea, like, to talk about as far as like how music affects us as we grow older. Like, I would agree. Like, when I was younger, like if an artist that I loved had an album coming out, I would be on it right away. But now it's kind of depends, you know, depends on a lot of factors. Did I like the singles? Do I have the time to listen to it at this exact moment in life? But it's
also, it's like part of our job to listen to new music as well.
True.
And that could make listening to new music for fun a little bit exhausting.
Right.
I agree. And like Hayley said, I feel like I have to like be in the right mood. Like I go through like spells where it's like I don't want to listen to any new music. I don't care what's come out. Like I'll just go to my playlist that I've been listening to for the past 10 years and that's all I need. And then there's times where I'll sit there and I'll like full isolated in my room listening to full albums. So I think that factors into it too. But I think certain songs, like I think Fake Out was very like old Fall Out Boy. Like for me at least, like I got like the Under the Cork Tree like vibes there and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely not no skips, but I am happy with what we got from, because
we got a good old Pete when speaking piece at one point.
Yeah,
I did think there was specifically, I can't remember, maybe which song is it where he's like, everything is lit except my serotonin. That feels so good. So I'm pretty sure it feels so good. It's the one that like it really sounds like they sampled like a song from the 80s.
Yes.
Probably should have the checklist in front of me. Which I do really like that song, but when he said everything is lit except my serotonin, I was like, that's a little tacky. And then he followed it up with everything is lit but my lightning bolt brain, and I was like, he brought me back in. If you know, you know. Lightning bolts in the brain.
Good right now.
Right, and I think it's great. It's just there were a couple lines where I was like, ugh, and then they immediately brought me back. But there's so many points throughout the album lyrically where whether it's, I guess, everyone says that like Pete writes lyrics. I don't know if it's Pete or Pat or whoever wrote, I would never go, I just want to be invited. Everything's lit except my lightning bolt brain. Just, I relate hard to a lot of these lyrics. So. Yeah.
I think it had a good mix of like the nostalgia feel that we wanted from Fall Out Boy and then little new stuff. I think it was like, what was that? It was like the song after Pete speaking that I was like, not a fan of this one. But
I don't really like this. I always skip like slow songs on most albums.
I also think it's interesting because we brought up with like Pierce the Veil and Paramore how their singles were like back to back on the album, and then
stacked
the
again,
singles are like the first 2-3 songs. So that was interesting to me that the first 3 songs are just like, because that's like a pattern now that we're seeing, which is interesting.
Yeah, I wonder if that's I really want to know if that's intentional. If you just put all the stuff that everyone's heard at the front half of your record, like it just makes me think that people are going to skip a whole big chunk of it in their first listen.
Because we discussed, we were like, oh, maybe that's just like the story being told. Is that like, which I mean, it could be, but coincidentally, the past 3 albums that we've talked about that are big in the scene all have the 3 singles back to back to back. So it's very, very interesting to me.
Yeah, like that is a good, interesting point. Like I don't know that we've had any albums that do that. And maybe it works, but like I don't know. It is weird because I've never seen it like that before either.
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten a chance to listen to it, but you know that meme that's going around that was like, in another life I would have loved doing laundry and taxes with you. I didn't know what that was from, and I was like, that's got to be from the new Fall Out Boy album. Like that's got to be a Fall Out Boy lyric. But then I found out it was not, and I was like, oh, I guess not.
Wait,
I mean, that's a fair assumption, honestly.
They should incorporate it in the next album.
It sounded like an old Fall Out Boy lyric. Like if you had told me that was off of like from Under the Cork Tree, I would have been like, you're so right.
That's hilarious because it does.
I know.
I saw you repost that earlier.
Well, cause I keep seeing people use it, and I was like, oh, it's got to be from the Fall Out Boy album because it came out like simultaneously, or people started using it simultaneously, and.
Turns out it's just tax season.
But I was like, I wasn't around for when Fall Out Boy released it, so I came back to all of those memes, and I was like, man, Fall Out Boy's done it again.
There's a lot of, this is another example of a fandom that I haven't really participated in. I have a hard time participating in fandoms as someone who views listening to music as a mostly solitary activity. But people speculate, like, as soon as the album came out, the speculation about Pete Key and lyrics and all this other stuff, I'm like, this is too much for my adult brain. So
I think it was cool back when we were younger that we didn't think of it that way, or at least I didn't. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this song is about Pete Davidson. It was like, no, like, this is just like someone complaining about a breakup, and like I didn't attach anyone to it. But now I'm like, Ariana Grande wrote a song called Pete Davidson?
Plot twist. Next on Pete Davidson's list of conquests is Pete Wentz.
I would love to see that.
We love
honestly,
a Pete times
that
two.
That height difference would send someone to the sky.
It would be like Ariana standing next to Pete.
It would. It would.
Oh
Lord.
That would be
Shout out to all the Short Kings, by the way. Happy Short King April.
Short King April. We'll make that a thing.
Should that be the title? Should that be the
Short
title?
King April?
Short King April.
Well, I mean, I guess. Well, no, the Fall Out Boy album technically came out in March. I was gonna say Short King April because Pete is short and put out, but never mind. Moment's gone.
It's fine.
Even when I went to that listening party, and like I said on the last episode, like listening with a whole bunch of other people, like you just don't get the same experience. And I am a very like you said, listening to music is like a very solitude experience for me too. So it was just very weird because I'm like, all right, it's not like the same vibe, like, but when I listened to it, when it came out and I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, I was even more.
It's a solitary activity for me until I'm like really, really into the songs already, and I go to see a band live and we're all screaming the lyrics. Like I very much I bring up the Wonder Years constantly, but those shows are very much where I'm like screaming, everyone knows all the words. That sense of community I really like, but not the fan theory side of like fandoms and stuff, because I think that can get borderline disrespectful sometimes.
I just think it's like no one's business. Maybe that's just as someone who's had their privacy invaded on the internet before. I'm just like, it's like really not my place to be speculating about who this could be about. Like, just listen to the lyrics, enjoy them and stuff. But like, I don't know.
I think like I'm not like that. I mean, I like the Taylor Swift like stuff, but that like goes.
Taylor Swift is like a whole different animal because we all know it's true.
No, but yeah, so that like that fandom, like she doesn't sit there and try and like reel it in, like she's putting it all.
No, she plants the seeds. I think that's a little different.
And she does all the Easter eggs and all that, so that's a different thing to like have like that incentive of like, oh, looking at the music videos, what's in there, what song lyrics.
Well, if you get someone that looks like Jake Gyllenhaal to play the actor in your video, we all know it's about Jake Gyllenhaal. Like,
happens.
Yeah.
But so like things like that. But then, albums like this, I wouldn't go and do theories.
Who are they speculating?
Because
what is the speculation? Just as someone who
it was
has
a specific. I mean, this is from one TikTok. There's one person on TikTok who she posts a lot of. There's a person on TikTok who posts a lot of Fall Out Boy content. And they in the beginning of this TikTok said, "Oh, everyone thinks Heaven, Iowa is about Pete Key, but I think Heaven, Iowa is actually about the woman that Pete is currently with, and when they first got together, because this and this happened in Pete's life." And they know, like, I mean, they are not very much not being disrespectful. When I say disrespectful fandoms, that's like not who I'm talking about, but that's where I heard about these fan theories that like people allegedly thought that this sullen love song about hoping this person still loves you and all that stuff is about Pete Key, and I'm like, oh, I don't know about that.
Who is Pete Key? Who is that?
Mikey Way and Pete Wentz.
Oh! I am interested now. You have my full attention.
You have Pete Key.
I'm fully invested in this now. Okay. All right.
Hayley's drinking the tea.
I'm just drinking my tea over here.
I think definitely when fandoms start getting into that stuff, because there is some of that also, like if you compare it to like Taylor Swift and stuff, because a lot of fans will like say songs are about other females. And it's like, if nobody has come out and said anything about their
Oh my
You shouldn't
God.
speculate
sexuality,
about people's sexuality.
don't talk about it. Like, it's not.
Oh my God.
Although-
So a lot of people
The
do come out and
song.
like are like, oh, she dated this woman secretly, and that, like, and
Oh my
Yeah.
God,
she
but
was
it's
like tied to us
supposedly
friends.
about
But
Mikey Way.
so
I
it's like the
can't
same
even
with
get
Pete and
over
Mikey,
it.
because it's been years and years and years and years of that. So it's
And
just
people
like,
won't. And even if it's just kind of like memed to death at this, I don't know. I never really, I wasn't paying attention to them in that era when all that stuff was going down.
Yeah.
And like I said, I do think that this person, I'll when I go to edit this, I'll find who I was talking about that made the TikTok. But their theory makes a lot more sense, that it's just about the person that Pete's with now.
I'm getting flashbacks to Burt McCracken and Gerard Way back in the
Yeah,
day.
it's
and
the
how
same thing in a different font.
Yeah, and how Hospital on Lies for the Liars is about Gerard, but I don't think that was like in a sexual nature. I think that was more about like the evolution and downfall of their friendship. So I could be wrong.
I feel like I've talked about this with Shawn before. Maybe I haven't. But I think it's more important what a song means to you than what it means to the person who wrote it.
Yeah, definitely.
Unless it's like a concept album or something, which I don't think this was. So,
not that I've got any theme going on in there that it would be. So,
can I mention something outside of Fall Out Boy?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So I was scrolling through Instagram finally, and I saw, and this is going to mean probably nothing to you guys because it's the EDM community, but this artist called Slander is putting out a new song with Bring Me the Horizon and Black Bear, which I think is going to be super interesting. And not only that, but Illenium is doing, Illenium and Excision are both putting out new songs, and Illenium is putting out a new album like a week from today or 2 weeks from today. That's super heavy. Like, they got a ton of artists from the scene to come and like help out with them. So I'm super excited for this kind of mesh of two genres and two communities that I'm part of. So I'm very, very excited. And I'm also just excited to see what Bring Me the Horizon is going to sound like on the EDM track.
So I was just going to say that crossover doesn't shock me. That feels like an obvious.
Yeah.
I like when Bring Me the Horizon crossed over with Ed Sheeran and stuff. So I like when they like kind of do that. Side note for anybody listening, if they want an EDM emo playlist, we have one that E created on Revival's Spotify, so that has all like crossovers like that. So,
and I'll put that Slander song on it too whenever that drops. I'm not sure what the date is. I just know they announced it yesterday. So that will be the 2nd of April at that point. So maybe it'll come out by the time this comes out.
So cool. Also in the scene, we're recording this on April 3rd, so today was announced a tour that is All American Rejects, Newfound Glory, The Starting Line, Motion City Soundtrack. There was one more.
There's one more.
That's a lot. That's a whole lot going on.
That's already a lot.
There was one. Let me look it up. But I will say I enjoyed seeing All American Rejects when we were young.
That was chaotic.
Oh, and the Get Up Kids are with them. But I think that'll be a good tour. They were like great. Like, they were putting on a good show for what was going on. For anybody that's fans of them, I'm a big fan of The Starting Line, old stuff. So
Newfound Glory is interesting.
Yeah,
as like someone to back up All American Rejects, but
there was also, I scrolled past the Bad Omens tour announcement today as well.
Yeah, and they're with Era and who else?
I See Stars.
Yes,
that's a name I haven't heard in a minute.
This is just the issue, is that tour specifically is in September, and maybe that's just me going through my own shit, but I can't plan this weekend. So like, how am I supposed to plan for September?
Yeah,
we are a lot.
I say this all the time. I barely can plan what I'm doing tomorrow, let alone, Yeah, I can't think that. I learned my lesson buying concert tickets way ahead of time before when the pandemic went
Yeah.
down. So.
Yeah.
Well, like I know that
That's
when
true.
I go to festivals and stuff like that, like when I go to festivals like EDC, you buy them months in advance, but you also go into that knowing you have to buy them in advance. But the issue with this one, and I obviously love Bad Omens, they're one of my favorite bands right now, but it's like, you know that tour is going to sell out. You know that like it's all going to be gone in a matter of a few days or weeks or whatever. So it's like, okay, yeah, I want to buy a ticket for that, but I also don't know where I'm going to be in September or like what's going to cross over. And so I'm just like, okay,
Just
like it's
on
fine.
the note of the Bad Omens tour, though, as like, I mean, I don't really have any strong feelings about Bad Omens. I think they're good. I just don't know a lot about them, and I don't listen to them that much. But I do know that they're one of the bands that have been very vocal about merch cuts. So I wonder if anything is going to develop out of that as they go on another.
Or if
I'm
they plan
assuming
that
sold
like
out
around
tour.
that.
I don't know, because merch cuts, from my understanding, and understand that my understanding is a little bit limited because I don't have anything to do with the contracts or the advancing or anything. I'm just the person who sells the merch, and then at the end of the night, I give the cut to the person I'm supposed to give it to. But from my understanding, the merch cut is worked out in the contract phase. When the show's getting booked, it might be different for these gigantic bands like Bad Omens, but like, as far as I know, it's not usually a surprise. Like, it's a predetermined thing. So I'm interested to see what kind of, if there's any more discussion about that as they're going back out on the road.
I
Because as a
don't
merch
know
girl, it's
how
something I'm very passionate about.
Yeah.
I don't know how tours are booked necessarily because that's not anything I've ever done, but I wonder if there was some discussion with the venues, since they are so vocal about it in that contracting phase, if they were like, this is our stance on it, either take it or leave it, and if that played into where they're playing at all.
That's the other thing. A lot of we're gonna run into a little bit of a time crunch in a second, but just for the record, a lot of people are saying like, oh, let's boycott these venues that take merch cuts and stuff. But in my experience, at least in the tours that I've been on, like 90% of the venues take merch cuts. So like, where is the music going to be coming out of a pandemic where no one got to go see live music for 2 years or 2.5 years or whatever it was? How would you navigate that kind of boycott? I don't know. It's a very touchy subject that I'm sure we can get into on another episode. But just since Bad Omens is one of those bands that have talked about it a lot. Yeah.
Bars.
Anyway.
In the revival world, we've put out, by the time this episode comes out, there will be 3 of the covers out. We are doing a grunge compilation. It's all grunge. I Set to Kills.
That's the title, by the way. It's called It's All Grunge.
It's all grunge.
She's not saying it's all grunge.
But like it is all grunge.
Yes.
So.
So we have Viridians is out, I Set to Kills is out, and then this Friday is
At a Time. We'll be releasing Hand in My Pocket, and then the next Friday. I know. Next Friday,
I mean, I'm sure I could go listen to it on Dropbox now, but I would,
right.
I'm interested too.
Yeah. Next Friday will be Lost at Sea doing their cover of Zombie, and then Frontside will be releasing their cover of Pearl Jam's Even Flow, and then the whole thing will be out as. I know, it's so exciting.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no,
people are very excited about that Frontside cover because
I know.
If you know what Walter's voice sounds like, I think it's going to be very. I haven't listened to it. I'm as a matter of fact, I'll probably go listen to it after this. But Walter's voice is very fitting for that song.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
It'll be good.
So yeah, those are coming out on Fridays. There's 5 total. If it goes well, we might do a volume 2 at some point down the line.
We will be doing a volume 2.
That's what I call grunge volume 2.
Okay, so that is a definite down the line.
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick pause. At least for you guys, it'll be a quick pause, and we're gonna cut to a segment that we've already recorded. Hayley and I played a little March Madness themed Revival 10-year anniversary release bracket game with Shawn Milke and Nick Onorato. And if you don't know who they are, I don't know
Why
how
are
you
you
got
here?
to this
Why are
podcast.
you
So,
here?
and the ending, not to be like, the ending might surprise you, but the ending might surprise you. It surprised me, for sure. Not that,
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much, but
Yeah.
you'll see. You'll see.
So,
You'll see.
yeah, so Hayley and Amanda have been around a lot longer than me and E, so they have gone through the process with, you know, these bands that they're discussing. So me and E sat that one out because we just weren't in the making of those albums that they're going
Although
to be discussing. But
Courtney was a tiebreaker for a few rounds.
yes,
So
This is true.
Oh.
That's
I
true.
had to chime in. So we'll see. You guys can leave in the comments on if you agree or if, you know, maybe you forgot about some of these albums that you're going to dive back into and excited about. So
we thought it would be a good idea to post a blank bracket so people could follow along.
Yes,
So look out for that.
So did you guys do Song of the Week at the end with them?
We did.
Okay.
We did, but
E?
I thought if you guys wanted to add yours on at the top,
All right.
go for it.
E, do you have one?
I do. My song is Orange Juice by Noah Kahan. I know he's said it a bunch of times. I don't know which way to pronounce it. And the Boston in me wants to say Khan, and I think that's correct. But it's not spelt that way, so
Yeah.
Kahan.
I think it is Khan, though.
I think it's
I
Khan.
feel like I've heard it said like that, but someone could have also been saying it wrong when I heard it. So
Yeah, I just, it's a little like tidbit on that. Like, if you want, like, if you're like going through it or, you know, you're homesick for your hometown, it's a great album to listen to. So
yes. So I binge watched Daisy Jones and the Six.
Did you?
If nobody has watched it, go watch it. So my song.
The posts recently make more sense now.
Oh yes, yeah. I literally like. I mean, it's a limited series, so you know, it's just the one season on Amazon Prime. It's based off a book that I've also read, which is really good.
Oh, I ordered that yesterday.
You did? I could have given it to you tomorrow.
Whatever.
So whatever. The story is loosely based on Fleetwood Mac of Lindsay and Stevie's relationship. The author saw the Silver Springs live performance that they did and was inspired to write the whole book.
Oh, that's iconic.
Yes. So it's not a direct, but that's what inspired it. So a lot of the music, you know, you get those sounds on the soundtrack and stuff. So Regret Me by Daisy Jones and the Six is mine, but the whole album's good. If you are a Fleetwood Mac fan, you would enjoy the music that was created for this series a lot. So
Nice.
and I'm a big Stevie Nicks girl, so so I have seen her live. Still killing it. Still got it. So yeah, those are our two songs that we'll add to Hayley, Amanda, Nick, and Shawn's. And we'll go over to the next segment and we will talk to you guys on episode 7.
All right. If you're listening to this segment, we're recording the intro later, but welcome to episode 6 of the You, Me, and the Scene podcast, brought to you by Revival Recordings. You already know Hayley and I, and probably know the other two people that are with us. I'm here with Nick Onorato and Shawn Milke, the two label dads.
Label dads,
That's what I
head
always wanted to
honchos,
be.
whatever you want to call them.
Label dad.
You always wanted to have two dads, didn't you, Amanda?
Yeah, you know, yeah. This is I kept saying we had a March-themed episode coming down the pipe, whatever it's called, and due to some scheduling issues, it kept not happening, but it's finally happening, and we're doing a March Madness-themed Revival Recordings release bracket. That's a lot of words. We're taking 32 releases from Revival's history in honor of the 10-year anniversary coming up, and setting them up in a March Madness style bracket. I want to stress that this is merely a game. Our label dads are very big sports fans, and I thought this would be a fun way to get them involved in the podcast. It really doesn't mean anything if you're in a band and you're listening to this and they don't pick your release. It's not... It doesn't matter. None of this is that serious.
Just like you love all your kids the same, but sometimes you got to pick one over the other for something.
Except sports and competition, and that was the only way we would get an enthusiastic yes to this.
Sports.
Well, you at least got a yes. I don't know about the enthusiastic part, but there was a yes involved.
Oh my goodness.
Very briefly, before we jump into the game / bracket itself, if you're unfamiliar, which if you're listening to this podcast, I don't know how you would not be familiar, but Nick is partner at Revival Recordings and Shawn is president of Revival Recordings, and they are both in Revival bands. If you would like to take some time to introduce yourselves. Nick, why don't you introduce Shawn to us? Tell us who Shawn is.
Shawn is the lead singer, keyboardist, and guitarist for TLE.
That's right. Nick is the guitarist for TLE and background vocalist for TLE.
Perfect.
There you go.
Great.
I don't think there's anything else
Wonderful.
I even know about myself other than that.
Well,
I don't think there's anything else I know about you either.
That's fair.
Who are you? How did you get here?
I don't know. But it took me downloading 3 different apps to get here. So
We often ask ourselves who we are. We have self-reflection on this podcast a lot, so you can feel free to do that.
Do get very existential. A couple more details about this bracket. We did put the releases in order of streams per song. So if some of these matchups seem kind of random, they're really not. They're just in order. And I'm giving us a soft time limit of 2 minutes per round. And if we go over that, I might have to do an and say, give me your answer.
Gong show.
Also, just so everyone is aware that is listening, we did not have enough to do every single release that we've ever done. But we're doing 32 of the releases that we've done.
For the sake of keeping this under 2 hours,
Yes.
it's 32 of the releases. So also don't be offended if your release is not included in this. Cool. Everyone good?
Yes. Let's do it.
Cool. So the first matchup we have is Better Off by the Home Team versus No Motive by Thieves, and your 2 minutes starts now.
So, I mean, I'll jump in. I've always loved the Home Team since we first heard this album. Fashion Forward has been one of my favorite songs. We had the idea together to make that cat video, which was amazing. It was just a good themed music, and we really enjoyed it. That being said, Thieves is like the first true, like straight through pop punk album for me that we put out for Revival, I guess for the label in general. So that has like a special place in my heart for sure on for that album.
yeah, I don't usually go chalk anyway, and you all know how I feel about the Thieves record. This is Thieves, 100%. Doesn't even matter who they were against in round 1, they were winning.
Yeah, this is my UMBC pick right here, 16 over 1.
16
I'm with
over
John.
1.
Thieves.
Thieves, 100%.
Thieves.
Yay, Thieves!
Nice. Your round 2 matchup is That Ain't It by Gold Steps, a very recent release, and Black and White by Artwork, a very not recent release. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Shawn, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'll go first this time.
We'll take that.
I went with recency bias here, I think. As much as I love the Artwork record and used to listen to it a ton, I'm just really super into Gold Steps right now, so I'm going Gold Steps.
Artwork was really cool. I can still remember the first call that we had. I was driving down 95 coming from Maryland to North Carolina when Shawn shared them with me, and I listened to it. Don't do this at home, kids. I listened to it in the car, watched a video while I was driving. Black and White is a fantastic song. But we're doing albums, and we're not doing songs, and Gold Steps is definitely one of my top albums that we've ever done. So yeah, I'm on Gold Steps.
Gold Steps. Woo.
We're going to need you guys to start disagreeing at some point, or else this is going to be real quick.
Just wait till we get to that TLE matchup.
Oh boy.
Okay. Round 2, That Ain't It by Gold Steps. Yay. Round 3 is Damna by I Set to Kill against I'm Only Dreaming by Lilac Kings. Your 2 minutes starts now.
So, the Lilac Kings never really struck a chord for me in that regard. I'm not a proggy fan, so that kind of style, and maybe I didn't just connect with it enough. But the music that we originally heard from I Set to Kill, including their single, really did hit home for me. And so I am moving I Set to Kill on in my bracket to round 2.
Records-wise, these were close for me, but I have to go with my tour friends, so I'm going I Set to Kill. Sorry, Amanda, that's 3 in a row.
Well, very, very tough competition here, clearly.
You should have just said, hey, send each other your brackets and make sure every pick is different. No way. Just argue all the time. It's coming.
Well, we'll have the argue podcast, the fight cast.
The fight cast.
Fight cast. I like
April
it.
Madness fight cast.
Fourth matchup is gonna get at least intense for me. Alone by a Void versus Remarkable by Charlatan.
I'm going
Charlatan. It's Charlatan.
It's Charlatan.
Well, we all know who Amanda did.
I've never seen. Hey, just because I'm an idiot doesn't mean I don't pick that record. However, your 2 minutes starts now.
All right. Yeah. Nick and I were just talking about this the other day, that when we were trying to sign Charlatan, how pumped we were. I actually remember where we were when we were on the call, trying to finalize that. I mean, it's one of the coolest records I've ever heard. Definitely one of the proudest records for me that we've ever put out. So, Remarkable by Charlatan.
Benny is a really great guy, and the guys from Avoid are fantastic. I've never really had a bad experience with any of them. Hang out with them any day of the week. That being said, there's no problem that a ray gun can't fix. Charlatan all the way.
For what it's worth, I'm very passionate about that Charlatan record,
It's
despite
so
not
good.
being able to pronounce their band name.
It's so good.
Such a
And it doesn't even
fantastic
have Bone Dance on it.
And the stuff that they've done since being a revival band as well is also.
They're just
I
really good
love that
band.
band.
Yeah.
They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Love the music.
I remember when you brought them up that you showed me Bone Dance, but then you showed me their sippy cup cover, and the video is so amazing. It's so amazing.
There's 3 tracks that we've put out, and we've already touched on. I think they're just Charlatan's the first one, but 3 tracks that we put out where I watched that video or heard the song for the first time, and I jumped out of my seat. This is fantastic, and Bone Dance was definitely one of those for Charlatan. They are it just makes me giddy thinking about it.
So Charlatan wins that round. Round 5 is going to be Body Wars by June Divided versus Piss Poor by Fever War, 2 very different records. Your 2 minutes starts now.
Second song that I heard from one of our artists that made me jump out of my seat was Wrecked by Fever War. That split screen video that they did was some of the coolest stuff that I've seen. Can I curse on this podcast?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay. It was some of the coolest shit that I've seen.
Ooh, whoa, dude.
Hey, oh, whoa.
Use a transition word or something. Man.
I hope Kevin Bryan's not listening. I had a fantastic experience with June Divided at launch show. We got to meet them and got to, watch them perform outside, and that album is fantastic. And they're Philly-based, which puts a special place in my heart. But I'm sticking with Fever War. I'm moving Fever War on.
Here we go.
Uh-oh.
This is the first one that was weird because both records, as you alluded to, Amanda, are just wildly different. It's kind of like judging a football team against a baseball team. But I don't know. Sports. I just have very fond memories of discovering their music at launch, and I just absolutely love that record. It's still a record that I put on as recently as last week. So Body Wars by June Divided.
Oh, 2 different ones.
All right.
Woo.
Well, I have a feeling, based off of what I know about Hayley's music taste versus my own, that we might also be very different.
Ooh, this is gonna be fun.
For me, personally, that Fever War record is one of my favorite records, ever. So I do love June Divided as people, and I do love their music, but I am a heavy girl at heart, and those nasty southern riffs scratch my brain the right way. I'm going Fever War.
Come on, Hayley.
See, you're totally right. I would pick June Divided out of this one. Sorry, not sorry. But they, the many times we saw them play live, whether it was here or at launch, that music it's such a good. I love a good female vocalist too. So, I mean, nothing against Fever War. I do love the Fever War album as well. But between the two, I would probably listen to June Divided more than Fever War. So
now what do we do?
I know. What do we do?
Our instructions, the instructions I gave Amanda is if Shawn and I disagree, they have to decide.
We have to decide, Amanda. Ugh.
There's got to be a third way to do this, though. Because now there's going to
rock, paper, scissors?
Coin flip?
See, this is the tough one, again, because it's two such different styles of music. That's the problem.
It's hard.
I like both records, but if forced to pick, that's why I went where I went.
Why don't you text Court and E and see what kind of responses they get?
That's a good idea.
If they get back to us, they could be the tiebreak. Or just one of them. Maybe just Courtney.
Start with one.
I'll send it to the...
I can tell you what Courtney's going to pick. It's going to be
Courtney's going to pick June Divided.
Yeah, Courtney. See, that's why I like Courtney.
All right, well, make sure she does. And if she does, then that's what we'll do.
Yep, Courtney did pick June Divided.
Yeah, baby.
Well, I quit.
Well,
tournament over.
Well, I've done all I could do. Anyway.
Remind me to fire Courtney tomorrow.
Moving on. No.
Moving on for the next round, getting into a more similar era of revival and kind of similar music for The Dearly Departed by TFP versus Atrocities by Cabaret Runaway. I don't know how much debate will be in this round. However, I know Shawn at least has more. These are all your tour friends, so you can't cop out that way.
No. I actually love that. I love that these were matched up against each other because both these records are like the same era vibe for me in terms of how my memory recalls it. But man, oh man, if there's one band that we signed that I feel deserved so much more recognition from anybody, it was that Cabaret Runaway record. Ridiculous how many times I've listened to that record and still listen to that record. They remind me of Gatsby's American Dream, who I loved. And it's just such a fun, unique record that the way I like to songwrite and the way where my head goes, that record does so many of the things that I would do. And I guess that's why I'm so drawn to it. But yeah, that's a slam dunk, Cabaret Runaway.
Nick, you got a minute, 20 seconds.
Oh, this was combined 2 minutes, man. I should start talking longer, give him less time.
When I came... When I came on board, starting with Revival, it was right during this first wave. I think I had just missed the first Migosh video, and Casanova was heading into, or Cosmopolitan was heading into studio.
Cosmoscope.
Where they shortly changed.
Cosmoscope.
Jeez, I can't even get it right. That's how far along that was. But we went for, they made the change, Funeral Portrait. We went for that video shoot at that warehouse. And that was a really cool experience because that was one of my first things that I did out of an office for the label. Special place for me to have that experience, and so I'm going with that album, TFP. That was Dearly Departed, Cosmoscope, and Casanova was a huge hit for me.
So personally, just based off of when I joined the team, at the point that I joined, I had more personal experiences with the Funeral Portrait, and I just knew them better. I mean, not that shouldn't matter. It's based off of the music, but I do also know that record better because when I joined, it was right around, like, pretty quickly after that record came out. So it was very fresh in my mind. I'm going with the Funeral Portrait on this one.
I
swear to God, Hayley.
Agree. No. What? I'm just gonna jump out my window. No. I would agree. Out of the two, I know the Funeral Portraits album better. It is one of the ones, like Amanda said, we started around the same time. It's one of the first ones that we kind of worked on as a team member there. So I'm going with Funeral Portrait too. So they win, Shawn. Sorry.
This is the problem all along. Even people on our team won't give that record any love. Like, what's going on here?
No, we love.
Shawn just doesn't like losing. That's
true.
Honestly, it's because there's a matchup later on that was really tough for me to decide, but now they're out of it. So now that matchup isn't there anymore.
Well, What round is this? Six? 5? 6? Either way.
I had Feverware winning
7.
twice too. So.
All right, matchup 7, which is tough for me personally. Myself on Fire by Alteris against Closer to Closure by Frontside. Your 2 minutes starts as soon as I get my phone unlocked now.
So yeah, for me, this one was really close. There's a song or two on each one of these albums that I really, really enjoy. But the Alteris album had a little bit more of an artistic flavor for me. They got a couple of really great songs on there, including the opening track. So I'm going with Alteris.
Yep. The Alteris dudes, they were always awesome enough to allow me to collaborate with them, and we had a lot of really awesome artistic interactions, and they were so open-minded to that collaboration, so a big spot in my heart with that record. So definitely the Alteris record.
All
right, guess it wasn't that hard. I really love both of those records.
Yeah, sorry, Walter, we still love it.
Sorry, Walter. I've been listening to that record in particular a lot recently. I put it on at the coffee shop all the time. Anyway, the next matchup is interesting. The Incubus by Famous Last Words versus The House Always Wins by Earther. 2 minutes starts now.
Yeah, I mean, when we signed Famous Last Words, it was one of like the biggest moments of our label's history up to that point. And so that attachment will always be there with that record and how big and special it felt to us at the time. Not that I don't dig the Earther EP, but this one is definitely Famous Last Words for me.
Yeah, it's the only band we ever flew across the country to lock something in to secure that they were going to be here. So that was massive, and I really love the album. I remember working with JT and the team, and their videos are fantastic. It's Famous Last Words all the way for me. No offense, Earther, just that's a tough one to overcome.
I just thought that was, I mean, I know these matchups are all numbers based, so that matchup in particular is very strange to compare the music side by side.
Yeah,
and I
that was
also
really tough.
Yeah, that was a weird one, which is what I meant by interesting. I didn't mean anything shady by that, for the record. Anyway, next round is Motion Sickness by Lost at Sea up against New Low by We Were Sharks. Your 2 minutes starts now, Nick.
Massive pop punk fan, always will be. That We Were Sharks album, that Shameless song, that hit for me. That is We Were Sharks all the way on this one. No offense, Lost at Sea. It's just that's a tough matchup to be in. So
this was one where I knew that you would 100% stand on the We Were Sharks record. Also, being a pop punk person, I really dig that Lost at Sea record, but it's hard to compete with New Low, so it's got to be New Low.
Next round. This one might get weird. It's I Can't Listen to You All at Once by TLE up against Novella by Viridian. Your 2 minutes starts now. Shawn?
Oh, I get to lead it off. It would have felt weird not to pick our record in the first round, unless it was up against like a behemoth of some sort. Not that Viridian record's not great, but come on. TLE, baby. Label dads. Let's go.
Label dads.
Yeah, even though it's the worst group of musicians I've ever had to work with, Cookie Monster being at the forefront of that.
Egomaniac.
To be clear, he's talking about TLE. He is not saying that Viridian are the worst group of musicians.
I don't know. Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster might have jumped for Viridian at some point in the past. I don't know that whole story.
Don't step on me. Come on.
Don't put words in my
mouth. I'll also never forget the spit take that Shawn and Drew had. I really dig the Viridian album. I re-listened to it this week when I was coming up the road here, but yeah, TLE.
They're just so fun songs. It's just such fun songs.
It's also just fun to vote for us.
Hard to go up against the bosses.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, you can relate to them because you wrote them. So, there you go. Next round, another recent versus not so recent. No Boundaries by Out of Time up against Body Works by Migosh, not to be confused with Body Wars. This is Body Works. Very different album. Your 2 minutes starts now, Nick.
So Out of Time, they just like totally encompassed the skate pop punk feel to it. The gritty voice, the driving guitars, it makes me think so much of that 2000s era pop punk. Trigger Thumb might be one of my favorite songs we've ever put out by Migash, and I just recently re-listened to that album again, and that front to back, love it. Every part of it, with Josh and Finch on, those harmonies on those vocals, it's just so well done. Migash for me.
It's stupid how good that record is. If you ever forget and then you go back and listen, you're like, my dear God, it's just so good. Got to tour with them, got to be in the studio with them. They were an integral part of this company becoming a company. Without their trust, that doesn't happen. So, zero question, Migash.
But we do love you at a time.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Next round is going to be Nicholas Rage, Personal Party versus City of Skin and Bone by Convey. 2 minutes starts now. Are we on Shawn?
Yeah, I guess
It's Sean's
so.
turn.
This is one I left blank and came back to after the first round because I was legitimately down the middle on it. But I ultimately went with Convey, and this is not to say that Nicholas Rage are not incredible musicians, but Convey are like scholastically good musicians and really enjoy their music for that reason, and that was sort of the tiebreaker for me, so I went Convey.
Go ahead, Nick.
Blame Canada. I'm going Nick Rage.
Hell yeah. I
That
gotta
was
say,
that's a real fun album. I totally agree with you,
Yeah,
Sean.
yeah.
On the scholastic side of things, like that, musically, Convey is incredibly talented, and I really do enjoy that record. There's just a couple tracks on the Nick Rage album, including Poison Ivy, that get me good. So that's where I'm at.
I gotta say, I was gonna, before I set up this matchup and told you guys, but set up the talking about it, I will go to the mat over this Nicholas Rage record. I love that record. It's Nicholas Rage, since even before they signed with us, have been one of my top played Spotify artists. So I am 100% Nicholas Rage on that.
Cool. So I'm going with Nicholas Rage as well. And
You sure didn't cue that up like that.
well, I want to leave you in suspense just a little bit. But I like everyone has mentioned here, I liked Convey's music. Their music videos were so intricate in how they thought about the visual of their songs. But I'm a pop punk person in general. And so the Personal Party EP I've played on repeat several times. So I'm going to go with it. That's why I'm going with them.
Good. Glad we don't have to go to the mat, Hayley.
Take Shawn to the mat. He's the one.
I'm coming for you, Shawn.
It's out here defending bands you guys won't defend. That's all.
All right. Next round. Another kind of out there matchup. I guess kind of different eras. Price of a Nation from America Part 2 versus The Stolen by The Stolen. Your 2 minutes starts when I unlock my phone. Nick.
Okay. This is one that I picked, and then when I came back for the second round matchup, I actually went back and switched. This is probably the closest matchup outside of the Alteris one that I had earlier. This is probably the closest matchup for me. I'm going to be fine whether everyone agrees or disagrees with me on this. So, but the uniqueness that I felt AP2 offered really struck a chord with me. I think that album is really cool. I love what The Stolen did in their own right. It's indie. It's out there. It's fresh. It's a good feel. That Overboard video with the bowling is really fun. But just AP2 reminds me a little bit more of like what music like at once was, the chaos, the uniqueness, the sound of it all, the anti-everything kind of approach. And so AP2 for me.
I listened through the Stolen record and was like, I'm going to pick the Stolen. And then I listened to I Don't Wanna, and I immediately changed my mind to AP2. Because that song is just like, a snapshot of how cool and weird and all over the place that band is. So AP2.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, those records are pretty even for me, but they're just very different music, which makes for a very interesting matchup. Next round is Shatterproof by Shatterproof up against Grief by Alteris, which is the first release from Alteris that came before Myself on Fire. 2 minutes starts now. Shawn.
This was borderline unfair because I love both of these ones, but I went Alteris earlier, so I went Shatterproof. Plus, the first time we realized there was a violin in that band was a very memorable moment in our company's history. It was fun.
That's the third song. The third of my three that made me jump out of my seat was when he came running out on stage with the violin, and that was just it for me. I lost it. So
I remember that moment vividly in the office. Yep. We all looked at each other and went, "Ah!"
That wins
definitely.
But yeah, these two EPs are. The last round was pretty even, but these two are like neck and neck, especially because I have so much personal experience with both of those bands. So I don't think I would have picked, which is why I'm glad that you both picked the same one. So next round, we got two more matchups in this first round. Also pretty interesting to put up against each other. It's XOX by Misery and Treadmill at the Finish Line by The Second After. Your 2 minutes starts now. Nick?
Second After for me. I liked this album by Misery. Everything is Fine. It's a good song, cool video, but Second After, local pop punk sound, it's just really cool for me, and I really enjoyed it. That's what I'm going.
They're local, and pop punk is a cheat code when I can't make up my mind, so TSA.
Yeah, I knew how that one was going to go. Again, also very passionate about that Misery record.
Yes, very much so.
Final round in this first round of matchups is The Cardinal by Versus versus Confessions by Alisana. Nick, you start this one. 2 minutes starts now.
Alisana. Pronounce it right, Amanda. It's
Did
Alisana,
I not say it?
Please.
Oh, I thought I said the cardinal sin, saying Alice.
Yeah, so the Confessions rollout was literally the first meeting that I was ever part of when I came down to Raleigh to join in on that. So if nothing else, that for me is the premier release that we had at Revival, and that's what I'm going to go with. I like the Cardinal. It's not entirely my vein of like super strong interest in that style of music. So it's good, but Alessandra just takes cake for me.
Go ahead, Shawn.
I've never been one of those people who's like, oh, it's your own music, you can't listen to it or you can't enjoy it. I disagree with that take so much. I actually really love Confessions and listen to it a couple times a year. So, boom, piece of cake.
Well, there you go. That closes
Down
out.
to 16.
Because other people play on your records. That's why I've never understood the concept of like, you can't listen to your own music and enjoy it. It'd be like if you made a movie and I can't watch this because I'm in it. It's like, well, there's dozens of other actors in it who are doing great work too, and a director who did great work. So like, you can listen through
That's
like, wow,
interesting.
Jeremy's such an incredible drummer. I get to just sit here and listen to him drum instead of having to play along with him. Never understood the thought process.
I guess it hasn't, at least not with us talking face to face, it hasn't come up before, and I really didn't know which way you were going to go with listening to your own music. I mean, I guess it kind of answered the question when the TLE record came up.
I was say also too, we're writing right now, and I tend to listen to us a lot when we're writing, just as inspiration or, hey, have we ever done this vibe before, or just weird things like that. It helps you get in the mindset, at least for me anyway.
See, he said it. There you go, guys. They're writing. They're working on new music. Happy, he said it. There you go.
Sure are, Amanda.
Stop commenting about it.
Anyway.
All right, second round.
All right, so we're going to start the second round. Yes. First up, we have No Motive by Thieves versus Gold Steps, That Ain't It.
Okay. This is sincerely like a nostalgia versus right now battle for me. it's just so hard for me not to pick that Thieves record whenever I see it up against almost anything that our company has done. So love Gold Steps, but it's Thieves. Thieves for me.
Seconded. Moving Thieves on. Love you,
All
Gold
right.
Steps. I love the
Seconded.
album, but yeah, again, Thieves.
Oh, my.
That's who it is. Everyone who hasn't listened to that Thieves album,
Okey-dokey.
go listen to it because it's ridiculous that it never
It's
got
so
off the
good.
ground. It's so good.
It's unreal.
That is
It's
one of
such a
those
good
bands
record.
that
Yeah.
I really wished got a little more attention than they did.
And their live show
it's
is
just-
incredible, man.
Yeah,
They still
it's just
play
a
it all.
great
You got it
band with
down
a
in
great
Texas.
record.
You guys got to go.
I also really
Very
love that
awesome.
Gold Steps record though, and Gold Steps friend of the show.
I know.
I would have went Gold Steps that round personally, but next round, Hayley, go ahead.
What if Thieves was listening to? What if Thieves was a friend of the show? Would you say the same thing?
Thieves, if you want to get on the podcast and be a friend of the show, you totally can. Hit me up.
There you go.
All right. Next matchup is going to be Damna by I Set to Kill versus Remarkable by Charlatan.
Come on, baby. Give it to me.
All right.
2 minutes now.
There's no problem that a ray gun can't fix. Charlatan. Moving on right away. Sorry.
I don't need to say
Damn.
anything that hasn't already been said. Charlatan. Moving on.
Oh, my
That
goodness.
took all of 12
Another
seconds.
upset. All right. Well, then finally we'll go to the next one, which is Body Wars by June Divided and For the Dearly Departed by The Funeral Portrait.
2 minutes now.
Shawn.
So this is a little tough because that's not how I had this matchup. So I'm going to defer to Nick. And you can defer to me later if you like.
It's funny because so you go through and June Divided was not my pick. I had Fever War there, and I actually had Fever War
Right.
in this matchup as well. June Divided was an incredible experience, as I mentioned, meeting them at launch, getting to meet the team, and we did so much with them, and they were an integral part of our Revival 52. And TFP had a special spot because that was my first offsite stuff when we joined Revival. But when I look at them and I compare them side to side, the full work of art for me is Body Wars by June Divided. That's the direction I would go in here.
It's funny because I had Cabaret Runaway winning this round so I'm in the same exact boat as you. But if it did come down to this versus that, my personal experience with it and my relationship with some of the dudes in that band, I'm going to go TFP here.
Now we have to decide, Amanda.
Defer just to disagree. All right, that's fine.
Keeping you on your toes, Amanda.
I'm gonna let Hayley go first.
See, deferring.
I'm deferring. Well,
Deferring just to disagree. Here it comes.
Really
all right,
This is hard.
because I think
Both albums very good, obviously.
I was gonna
Go
say
ahead.
me and Hayley, since we joined around the same time, we have similar experiences with both of these releases. So
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah, they're both good albums. If I had to put them next to each other like it is here, I'm going to stare at them real hard and one's going to jump out at me. I'm going to say Body Wars by June Divided. I just can't. I just got to pick them. I just got to pick them. It has to happen. Do it, Amanda.
I want to disagree just because, again, personal experience, but I think one, for the sake of time, and two, I also do
Time.
for this. No, genuine, because I don't, our tiebreaker is not in this conversation right now. I'm going to go June Divided as well, since I did not show them love in the last matchup, and I do also love that record. So
That's funny. It's funny how that just went down because both Shawn and I did not have the matchup, and we both picked the artist that we did not pick the first round.
That's right.
I picked both of those two the first round, so
Let's just make this the Hayley bracket. Everybody, Shawn, we're done. We can just leave now. And Hayley's just
That
going to
was
take
easy.
over.
listen.
Haley Madness.
I mean,
Hayley Madness. That's right.
Let the record show too, by the way. I'm completely fine with that record moving on.
Yes.
They're both great.
All right. So the next round we have Myself on Fire by Alteris and The Incubus by Famous Last Words.
2 minutes starts now.
Oh, I guess it's me this time, isn't it? Because I deferred.
Because the deferment.
Yep.
The deferment.
Yes, you deferred.
Yes.
So we're deferring
screwed
back
it up,
to you.
so now it's your turn.
We've already said everything we feel about these records. I just went with my heart, so I went with Alteris.
I'm going Famous Last Words. There you go, girls.
I feel like now they're like they've got the gist of it. They're like, I'm just gonna pick.
Yeah. I'm going Alteris on this one because Myself on Fire is a really, core. I don't know about if core record is the right term, but I remember hearing that record before it came out and being like, damn, this is going to be a big one. And that's
very underrated, underappreciated band, Alteris. That's a great record.
And great people too.
So
yes,
100%. Between these two, I'm going The Incubus.
Oh, we got another deadlock. Got to text Courtney.
But Courtney would probably not like either. Well, not like. That's not what I mean. She's
Courtney
just
is not a heavy
hard music person. But I guess she would pick Alteris probably. I'm going to say she's going to pick Alteris.
I'm texting Courtney now.
Let's see how much I know Courtney.
I still listen to Bury My Burden on that Famous Last Words album whenever I need to feel like I have to run through a brick wall. So that's one of those for me. It's a great song for that.
And the artwork, like the special artwork they did for each track was just so cool looking.
Do we want to continue while we wait for Courtney?
Well, she's not even typing, so we can come back to that. No dots.
No dots.
We'll come back. We'll come back. So the next two are New Low by We Were Sharks and I Can't Listen to You All at Once by TLE.
Oh, and they're both pop punk.
They sure are.
Both pop punk.
Is that me?
2 minutes starts now, Nick.
Drive Thru Records was the best label ever of anything. Oh my God, TLE.
Respect your elders, baby. TLE.
If
When are we
only
getting
We Were
another
Sharks
TLE
was
record?
older than us, then maybe we would have gone that way. But
I feel like we need another TLE record.
Don't blow over that question.
Get on that.
I already have a handful of TLE demos. I don't know about Nick, but it's
I
coming.
have a handful of Shawn's TLE demos.
See, the fun part is, and we discussed this a little bit, is that by the time we write the next one, our kids are older and there's new annoying things that they all do. So it's going to be about that.
It's going to say, I can't coach all of you at once.
Yeah, I can't coach all of you at once.
I have a more appreciation of the TLE music when I became a mom. I have a more appreciation for it now because I can totally understand it. Not exactly, but I can totally.
We pretty much should have won a Grammy, is what he's saying.
I mean, I can't relate to it that way.
I'm not disagreeing.
As someone who has been an Alice Santa fan for a very long time, it was really interesting to hear Shawn's voice in a different context, which is why I like that record.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
Courtney got back to me, and
Yeah.
she said famous last words. So.
Oh, surprise.
She picked Famous Last Word. That is a surprise, I think. All right. Let me add that to there. All right. So moving on up. It's going to be Body Works by Me Gosh versus Nicholas Rage, Personal Party.
2 minutes starts now. Shawn,
I think it's
Yeah,
yours.
it's me. That's for all the reasons I listed before. Me Gosh is not losing in the second round of my bracket.
Ditto. Me gosh.
All right. Moving on to Price of a Nation by America Part 2 versus Shatterproof by Shatterproof, now not a toy, but Shatterproof back then.
2 minutes starts now. Nick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the violin. If you're not watching,
air
he's
violin.
playing a fake
That's
violin.
it. Air
Yeah,
violin.
if you were
violin.
not watching, he was demonstrating that he wants Shatterproof for this round.
Correct.
I will not make any grand gesture. I will just say Shatterproof.
So grand.
Perfect. All right. So then that brings us to the last matchup of this round, which is Treadmill at the Finish Line by The Second After and Confessions by Alisana.
I'm going to weirdly stick with my bandmates on this one. Still Confessions.
Okay.
I'm going to less weirdly stick with your bandmates on this one.
Nice.
All right.
Love y'all Second After, but you went against the boss, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the boss.
Elite Eight.
Boss man.
Going into round 3. The first matchup is No Motive versus Remarkable. No Motive by Thieves versus Remarkable by Charlatan. 2 minutes starts now. Nick.
Now we start getting to the mat. This is some hard choices in the Elite Eight here. A lot harder.
Agree.
Some of them were tough, but this becomes a lot harder. I think I finally have to go against this Thieves album here, and Remarkable is it was just such a special thing for me, and I can remember so much about it and the experience and talking with the band and having those conversations and experiencing Bone Dance the first time. I shared that video with so many people, and it was just like, all right. So Charlatan for me, I'm going forward with them.
I love the Charlatan record, but I can listen to the Thieves record in any mood that I'm in. And that's the only way I could pick between these two, because I adore both of these records very, very much. But Charlatan is definitely, it's moodier, is all I can think to say, right? You can throw Thieves on in any situation and kind of vibe with it. Charlatan's a little more flavored that way. So I had to go Thieves.
Yeah, I knew it'd be tough to get Shawn to go against that Thieves record. My pick in this matchup...
so now we have to pick.
Yeah, my pick in this matchup is going to be Charlatan, because I myself am moody, so there you go.
I don't think there's a wrong pick at this point with any of these albums.
No, there's really not.
It's not. It's just hard
just like
to
Thieves
pick.
is the writer.
I was actually going to go with Thieves,
Yeah.
Shawn. So
You're not about to swerve on me, are you? Charlatan.
No. No, I'm gonna go with Thieves for this one. So we gotta bring Courtney in.
Texting our tiebreaker now. Thieves versus.
All right.
Oh, she already got back to me. She says Charlatan.
Uh-oh. Ooh.
Courtney is not on Shawn's team today.
Nope. She sure ain't.
He doesn't know that. But...
This is making up for that time that you beat me for 12 hours in cornhole. I will never forget that. Next.
It was worth it.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see here.
12 hours. I'm surprised you played for 12 hours.
Are you?
I'm not.
Not you, Shawn. Amanda.
Okay. I'm surprised I didn't play for 16 hours.
Anyway, moving right along. The next matchup is Body Wars by June Divided against The Incubus by Famous Last Words. Whose turn is it to go first? Nick, your 2 minutes starts now.
Famous Last Words.
Yeah, I probably have to say the same. Concept record takes the win here.
Yeah, it's a really great album. There you go. Time up.
That's true.
Well, getting shorter and shorter here. This was the matchup that I was waiting for. It's going to get real weird.
Oh.
I Can't Listen to You All at Once by TLE against Body Works by Migosh. 2 minutes starts now. Shawn.
Mm-hmm.
As much as I love the dudes in TLE, I gotta go Migosh.
Funny because I've had such a different experience with those guys in TLE. Honestly, so this bracket is going a lot like what mine looks like. I think I've only had like 2 or 3 that are not the way that I expected them to go. I could probably thank Courtney. I'll write her a letter thanking her for some of those tiebreaker picks.
I didn't realize this was Courtney's bracket, by the way.
Yeah. I also had Migosh. I had Migosh over TLE.
Damn.
I think our
honestly was not expecting that.
Bum bum bum.
Throwing me some curveballs here. I didn't fill out the bracket. I didn't fill out the bracket ahead of time myself because I knew it was mostly y'all. But yes, another.
I could see it going that way. I could see them picking.
It was starting to feel a little bit like nepotism to keep picking that record. Like once it was up against Migosh for me, it's like as much as I love our record, that Migosh record is stupid.
Great segue. Speaking of nepotism, it's Alisana Confessions up against Shatterproof by Shatterproof. 2 minutes starts now. Nick.
Would you say that this is almost karma? Or perhaps you're talking because you have nothing to say? Shatterproof is remaining in the driver's seat for me with the definition of this is
Ooh.
Me as well. I picked Shatterproof over Alisana here too.
Wow.
That's actually how I had it before too. Like none of that part of the bracket changed. So I had Shatterproof here initially.
This is my final four. This is my exact final four that I had.
Really?
I had 2 and 4.
Well,
Courtney picked the other 2 on top. So
who were your other 2 that you didn't have? Thieves?
Wait, who was in my final 4? It was
Thieves.
Yeah, it was Thieves on the top, and it was who the heck? I see. I've been erasing them and replacing them with the new ones. I should. Yes, Cabaret.
Okay.
So it was Cabaret and Thieves, Migosh, and Shatterproof.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I pretty much pinned that you would have those 2 albums going pretty far.
Yep.
Those have always been good ones.
So, Hayley, if you would like to introduce what are these the semifinals? Is that what this is considered? I don't.
Final four.
I don't sports, so I don't really understand how this works.
Sports.
I don't sports and I don't math.
Sports.
Yes, Final Four. Final Four. Okay. This actually works out because we're filming this on the day of the championship of the NCAA tournament. So it actually works out that we're doing the bracket this day. All right. So the first matchup for the Final Four is Remarkable by Charlatan and The Incubus by Famous.
2 minutes starts now.
I go
Shawn.
first, right?
Yep.
So this was not the matchup I had. So I'm thinking on the fly here. So I have to go gut. I don't have any choice but to go gut because of the 2-minute timer that's creating all this pressure.
Gut.
I suppose I can let it run down to 10 seconds and just sit here and think for a while. I'm going to go Charlatan.
Ooh.
So when I did this the first time, I went through and I penciled this in, and this was the matchup I had. And I went through and I picked Famous Last Words. But now I'm reversing course and I'm picking Charlatan so that we have...
Oh
man.
my gosh.
Plot twist of the century.
Good old Charlatan. Good old Charlatan.
What seed were they? Hang on, let me go back and look.
They were 13.
13! I love this. I wasn't even considering that part of it.
Yes. And then we have Bodyworks, Migosh, which was a number 3, if you're wanting to know, and Shatterproof by Shatterproof, which was a number 5.
Ooh, getting close. 2 minutes starts now. Nick.
For my money, there's nothing better than to hear middle-aged men make guitar and violin noises with their mouths. So when you talk about like the main songs for these albums that always stick in my head, it's the openings to tracks, and it's that trigger thumb, the do 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 from the bass line there, and then the violin. I think it's for So Punk. That you guys were just treated to a musical genius there, and you're welcome. Going forward, the violin for me continues to reign supreme, and so I'm taking Shatterproof.
You had every chance in the world to say, so I'm going with Migosh. After you violin their whole EP. Even though I know where this is going to end up going based on the group consensus, I was Migosh here. And this was actually my matchup that I had. It was the toughest call for me of all of it. But my nostalgia reigned supreme for me. I went Migosh. Despite that, I know that Shatterproof is going to get the vote right here. So. I mean, it just is. I'm not an idiot.
You don't know
Courtney,
that?
of course.
You don't know that. Well, I went Shatterproof, so sorry.
No apologies necessary.
That's the album. That's the album I listened to more than I listened to that album more than I listened to the Mikash album.
Yep.
So that's why
I'm also going Shatterproof. I am a violinist. Well, I'm still a violinist technically. I'm going Shatterproof. So.
All right. Well, that leaves us with the final championship round.
Shawn has to go first, or do I have to go first? Who has to go first?
Wait. Before we do that, let's talk about how unexpected, at least for me, I really did not picture these two being the final matchup.
I didn't
is
either.
Remarkable by Charlatan against Shatterproof by Shatterproof. And given, I'm honestly surprised that Thieves and Famous Last Words and Alisana are not in this final round.
That's what happens when a 13 seed charges to the finals, you know? Where was Shatterproof? What was their seed? 5. So 5 and a 13.
They're 5.
That's actually kind of in line with this year's tournament. A lot of high seed upsets.
So would you guys like to do 1, 2, 3, say it?
Yes. It's 1, 2, 3, then we say it. Right? 1, 2, 3, say it? Okay.
Gotcha.
Say it, yeah.
Y'all ready?
Do we say it, or do we say the band?
We say the band.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we say it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we clear?
Who's counting?
Ready?
Hold on. Who's
I'll
counting?
count.
There's no
Yes. I'll
delay
count.
or anything weird, right?
Amanda is
I'll
counting.
count. All right. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
TLE!
Oh my gosh, they're not even on the bracket.
That's the big swerve. Like we wouldn't pick our own record to win this tournament. You out of your mind?
That's how they should have done the Grammys, too, for what it's worth. So.
Oh my gosh.
I know we weren't nominated, but...
How did I know we couldn't get a straight answer from
Yeah,
Shawn and Nick?
well,
That's fine.
We're
right.
nothing if not predictable, Hayley.
I've worked with you long enough to know.
I'll jump out here. I'm gonna have to go with Charlatan. I think that both these albums are probably my two favorite, if not maybe 2 out of the top 3 that we've ever done. So I'm really happy that these are the last ones we have to choose from. And I probably give Charlatan the lift for the one reason that Shatterproof isn't Shatterproof anymore. And so that's a little sting there, but I think they're both fantastic. But I'd lean Charlatan.
Some bands are bands to be bands. Some dudes and gals join bands for various reasons and differing reasons. And we've had the privilege of working with a handful of bands who their art is the number one, no matter what. And that Charlatan gives up nothing for the sake of their art. Like that is their number one thing at all times in every single decision they make. That vibes a lot with what I think making music is all about. And I remember the early conversations we had with them, how important it was. I mean, we're an artist first label anyway, so that's never even a question for us, but them driving that point home, even knowing that, always driving that point home in every discussion, and always making their music the way they want it to be heard, not the way they think somebody else wants to hear it. So in seeing this matchup for the first time, that's why I would easily pick Charlatan over the Shatterproof.
There you have it, folks.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yay!
2023.
Would you say it's remarkable?
Remarkable that a 13 seed won, huh?
The dad jokes.
The label dads, there you have it. The 2023 10 Years of Revival Celebration Bracket winner is Remarkable by Charlatan. If you guys have not listened to that record, you 100% should. It is absolutely wonderful, and I support this outcome. I also would have gone Charlatan.
Excellent.
As I let you guys know before we started recording, we do a song of the week every episode. I don't know if you guys have your songs of the week, but again, since I'm talking, I will go first. My song of the week is Leech by World Divided. I've shouted out World Divided on this podcast before. I was going to do a Fall Out Boy song, but I know we're going to talk about Fall Out Boy in the intro, so Fall Out Boy does not need my shout out. World Divided put out their new record, I think either last week or the week before. It's really good. And Leech has literally been on repeat since it came out. So that's mine. Nick, what's your song of the week?
So yesterday when I was in the car, my children of 11, 13, and 5 typically control the radio. They had pulled out some books and were reading, and so I took the opportunity to try and go back and listen to some things. And so I listened to a couple different albums on the way up. But I've been doing a lot lately to kind of expose them more to what I used to listen to. And the song that jumped off the page at me that I loved, and I probably listened to it 4 times in the car, and they told me, Dad, enough, we know this song already, was Your Stories, My Alibis by Matchbook Romance, which is one of my all-time favorite songs. And I could jump through the roof of my car listening to that with excitement. And I almost broke the steering wheel beating on it. So that's where I'm going.
Oh, nice. You wouldn't want to do that while you're driving.
Yeah, another thing to not try at home.
I guess I'll go next for my song of the week. In the car, I don't usually listen to the radio. I just kind of listen to either Spotify, or we have a USB drive that we put in that just has a ton of music in it. We shuffle it and stuff. And so this song came up while I was listening to it driving. I'm going to go with Chasing California by O Weatherly. They're relatively, they've been around. I don't actually think they're a band anymore, but that album, when it came out, I listened to it several times. And so it's a good one to go back to.
So I do a good bit of long distance running, and lately I've been listening to a lot of hip hop when I run, which is not always my go-to immediately. There's a couple artists I really dig, but then when my playlist will end, Spotify does that thing where it just starts shooting stuff at you. And about a month ago, I came across a Canadian hip hop dude. His name's Connor Price. I don't know if you guys ever heard of him, but he's got this really, really cool new track out. It's called Spinnin', and he's like entirely self-made, like all self-released music. And what's really cool about him is he's a clean hip hop artist. So like his subject matter, his content is all clean. So like being a dad, I can listen to Connor Price around my kids and they can enjoy it too, which is kind of cool. But yeah, there's Spinnin's the main one that's jumped out at me. He also has one that I'm spacing on the name of it, but he talks about, it's all about like being cool, but also being a straight A student. And I know this sounds kind of corny on the surface, but like the lyrics and stuff, it's really cool the way he plays it out. He's really, really good. His songs are all really short too. So he's not like if you want to listen to him, you can get through a lot of his stuff pretty quickly. But Spinnin' by Connor Price.
I was picturing, as you said that, I was picturing a Will Smith song from back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Fun fact, I almost went with NF and that hip hop rap vein. NF is also a clean rapper that my kids love and listen to, and actually my youngest has really taken an interest in him. He's got a song called Motto that he's been listening to over and over again. So I almost went with that.
We could throw both of those on the playlist. Well, let's throw both of them on there.
NF has quite the following, so if you're trying to help him out, it's probably not going to help any, but it's still a good song, and it's fun music, and it's clean.
There you have it. On that note.
Well, hold on. Since you did one old school and one new thing, because I had an old school one picked out.
Oh, my gosh.
But hold on. Then I looked at your list and stuff, and I was like, oh, they probably want something more current. But I
had an NSYNC song on there.
No, I guess you're right about that. Anyway, but if we're going to do two, like one current, one not, Galapagos by Smashing Pumpkins, I've been listening to like crazy lately. So
Nice. Is there anything else while we have y'all on that you would like to shout out on the podcast? Anything to plug? I know you're the bosses, so we kind of have the same things to plug anyway, but is there anything specific that we haven't mentioned that you'd like to throw out there?
You go first?
Courtney and E, we missed you. It would have been fun to have you guys on.
Thanks for your picks, Courtney.
Thanks for the picks.
Yeah, thank you, Courtney.
I would shout out, just go and listen to those albums. If you don't have all the time in the world, at least Final Four, fantastic music. we really do stand by what we put out, and they're really special albums to me specifically, and I know they are to Shawn as well. So go give them a listen. Maybe add them to your workout playlist or something like that. But there's
that should be the whole point of this, right? To go listen to music you haven't heard. That's what I would do if I saw something like this. I would want to hear all the mistakes we made with our picks. And you don't know if they're mistakes until you listen to all the records.
Hearing some salt from Shawn.
That's true.
Oh, no. I meant our own collective mistakes. Not Courtney's mistakes, which were a lot.
Not Courtney's mistakes.
Cool. Thank you guys for...
Hold on.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't get the plug.
Go ahead. I didn't know you...
I'm not going to plug.
No, go ahead. Plug. Go ahead. Go ahead, Shawn.
I was going to throw you a bone here because we haven't officially announced it or anything like that, but I can say it here. When is this coming out, this podcast?
Monday.
Next Monday.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have announced it either, but we're doing... Allison is doing 3 more legs this year of the A Place Where the Sun is Silent tour. We should be hitting all of the same markers we just did last year for The Emptiness. So if you saw us then, come see us again for a whole new record experience.
There you have it. The
That's
announcement
going in the liner notes. Woo! That's going in the liner notes, and don't you dare tell them the timestamp.
Yes, we are going. Can I say when it's projected to happen? Brief, window wise.
It's just similar to last year. So if you saw us last year, it'll be right around those same time frames. But we should be announcing it pretty soon, anyhow. So be on the lookout for it, I guess. But yeah, June, August, and November, I think, this year.
Indeed. And I will be there behind the merch table, so I get to see y'all again as well. And a lot of songs are going to be played that I don't think, at least I've never seen them play live before.
There are a few songs on that record that have never been played live. A few that have been played very few times. And then there's some that, have made a lot of the rotations. But it should be fun. It's a way different vibe than The Emptiness live, so it should be a good time.
We're all very excited. Now, truly... Thank you guys for being on this episode. I know it was a long time in the making and kind of a hassle to schedule. Gonna let Shawn get back to writing and working on new music. Thank you guys for listening. As always, follow our socials, all that good stuff. And we will see you the Monday after next. Sound good?
Or right now, since this is recorded.
As it were.
All right. Thanks, y'all. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the You, Me, and the Scene podcast. New episodes are released every other Monday.